Welcome back, everybody. This is another episode of the Wisemen Say podcast. Tyler Fisher alongside Gerald Lucas. And Gerald, we had a very action-packed soccer weekend, didn't we?
Hey, it was exciting. I mean, Friday through Sunday. What more can you say? Great soccer and all around the whole city.
Yep. And I think right now we start finding ourselves putting the Columbus Crew lower and finding more of FC Columbus up in the like first or second segment.
I mean, you got to keep it local, right? So I mean, local teams are getting hot.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for the rest of the show.
Speaking of FC Columbus, check out these highlights from their 3-0 win over Pentatonic Chicago on Wednesday. Ball sent in. Camara! Diallo to Abdi. Abdi into the box. Centered. Camara! And Goulet to Abdi. Can't find Camara. Camara still going after the play. Foul there. Finds Camara through the center. Abdi making that run to Kamara's left. Camara breaks around the defender. Shot taken. Save! And it's Goulet Abdi. And FC Columbus with that 3-0 win on the back of a brace by the man himself, Damani Camara, in the building. Damani, how are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Mashallah.
I gotta say, you're a stud. First of all, you're doing great.
Thank you.
So funny enough, I saw you guys play when you guys played at Grandview.
Yeah.
During the first, I think you scored the first goal.
Yeah.
In FC Columbus history. Now this season you have 13 goals in 7 games. I don't know if you keep tally of that at all.
I have someone who reminds me of those goals every single day. So yeah.
The hot performance. How do you keep it, steady?
Honestly, it's about the hunger. Waking up every day, go to work, after work, work out, and then go to FC practice. And honestly, that's all. That's all I do. The hunger drives me. Watching the games, the European games, the MLS, every single game inspired me to do more. So whether it's Sunday League, whether it's USL League 2 and PSL, anything drives me to do more. So that's why I'm always finding myself in the right position every time.
I don't even know where to begin because, I mean, you got the rock star here. I mean, getting into it, what's it like? Because, you guys are going to the playoffs.
Yep, first time.
First time ever. What's that feeling like?
Man, it's unbelievable, man. Since FC Columbus' first year, I've been wanting to go to the playoff, but you win some, you lose some. But I had a feeling from the get-go this year that we were gonna do good. So it was just unbelievable, man. We went out there, we did our thing. I could tell like my teammates were in a bit of a shock. So as soon as we clinched that playoff, man, we actually sat there for like 20 minutes. Usually after the game, we just grab our stuff and leave because we have a long way to go back. But we sat there for like 30 minutes talking about what we're gonna do for the playoff, anything. It was exciting, man. I can't wait to start. It's crazy.
Touching on the Pentatonic Chicago game on Wednesday, an eventful first half. If you recall, there were 3 red cards in the first half.
Yeah.
Have you been a part of a match with that much insanity?
Nah. Not really. 3 red cards? I actually thought it was 2. It's when we got into the locker room, they said it was 3, and I'm like, it was crazy, man. I didn't know what to make of it.
And then the Carpathia match, the 2-2 draw. down. I believe that you guys are down 2-0.
2-0 first half.
Yep. You score a brace to earn a point to get that playoff berth. What was that match like for you? What did you guys, talk about to get those 2 goals to earn a point? What was like the message to the team?
Being a captain of the team, I honestly didn't make a big deal out of it because in the back of my mind, I knew I was going to score. Anytime they scored, I told them, yo, just give me the ball. That's all you got to do. And then first half, we came together. The coach said what he had to say and asked me if I have anything to put on it. I just told them the same way they scored those 2 goals, we can do the same. So let's just stay focused. Deep down, I was a little bit nervous. But then when you think about it, from Carpathia to Chicago, at least I know I was going to get 3 points along the way, some way, somehow. So I told them, yo, let's just calm down and play. All you got to do is go offense. Let's not worry about the defense now because we need to get somewhere tonight. We can't let them beat us. And then, as you can see, Damani did his thing.
Spoken like a true GOAT, and actually like the captain of the Columbus Crew, Jonathan Mensah. You remember I think it was against DC, when he said you got to have that mentality, that winning mentality. And you look back at this season and all the other seasons that you played. What's so special about this team this year besides your golden foot?
What's special about this team this year is that anybody on this team is driven by each other. Like anybody that's in that team wants to win. Even at practice, the loser team, as soon as the practice done, the loser team don't want to hear nothing from the winning side. It's always an argument. It's always, but in a positive way, like if I lose, I know for sure I'm not talking to no one. I'm going home like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So this time I feel like people are willing to go somewhere because I've seen people call off their jobs just to make the playoff, like coming to every single practice, missing work just to get some trainings in. It's hard, but then that dedication alone got us through here.
So you think it's more or less like less ego this season?
Yeah.
And more pride and determination to actually get from seeing that finish line to now being almost to it to win it all.
Like I said, man, the determination is there, the dedication. We got hella teammates coming from Lima, like places, just to come be part of this. So as a captain, I always find a way to encourage them to stay. Anytime I perform on the field, it's not only for me, it's for the team. It's for everybody. It's everybody that put in the work being rewarded. So anytime I score, that's the only way that push, off the court, they always text me, yo, today, good job. And I say, thanks to you, we did that. Thanks to you, we did that. You know what I mean? So it's always about giving back.
Looking ahead to Wednesday, you guys play Chicago again.
Yep.
I know it's probably twice in a 2-week time span, I think it is.
Yep.
What are you expecting from that team who has yet to score against you guys?
I mean, last game we had one of our center back, DeMarco, take a red card against Carpathia. So he's a huge part of the group. So, I mean, we still got some good players, but he's one of the huge guy in the back. So I feel like going to Wednesday, we just need to be careful, man. Just because we clinched the playoff doesn't mean we have to relax. We have to go the same way we always go at them. So, and I'm feeling like by now they think they have it all figured out, and that's when we come in with a different tactics, as the coach said. So it's just keep the same volume all the way, man. That's all. That's the plan, basically. That's the plan. Go all the way, same way. So, yeah.
What's next for you?
I mean,
what's the next level for you?
That's a good question because even I had this guy text me yesterday, the NPSL director or whatever, send me an email about asking me stuff like that. I'll tell him what I told him. The next things for me is to go, like I've always dreamed of, go pro. Because if you really look at it, sometimes it's the lack of opportunity that like slow us down. But I hope after this one good season, wherever I end up, keep the same energy till to the very top.
Spoken like a true champion, like Jay said earlier. Damani Camara, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
You guys can catch Damani in action Wednesday against Pentatonic of Chicago, and then Saturday against the Muskegon Risers at the Wellington School, called by yours truly on 11 Sports, powered by Yamo Media. We'll be right back after these few messages.
What's going on in the last 10-15 hours. The Southeastern Conference football coaches held their annual spring meetings in Destin, Florida, and Nick Saban basically just eviscerated Jimbo Fisher and the Texas A&M program by claiming that he bought his entire class. Jimbo Fisher, the head coach at Texas A&M. Nick Saban is no fan of NIL. He has made that perfectly clear, and he went after Jimbo Fisher big time, calling out Texas A&M for, as he said, they basically bought their entire class. It's the wrong way to do things. I'm paraphrasing a lot of what Nick Saban said, but you get the impression that Saban, number one, doesn't really care what anybody thinks right now.
Right.
He's at that point in his college coaching career where he feels he can do that. Now, he has apologized in a roundabout way to Jimbo Fisher, who is refusing to take his calls and wants nothing to do with him, which is really great as well, too. And we're going to play some Jimbo Fisher for you here in a moment, his reaction to all this today. But, Greg, my first thought about this was when I saw all this back and forth between these two guys, did you ever see that in the Big Ten? I mean, was there ever a Big Ten coach that called out another coach? It's a different landscape down there. It really is. I can't think of any coach jumping on another coach that hard.
You'd have to think long and hard to come up with that. I'm sure Woody and Bo probably did it,
But not like that.
No.
Not like that. I don't think for a second Woody ever thought Bo was cheating. I mean, he knew him too well.
I don't know. He probably thought so.
Well, okay. I'm sorry, but the Big Ten, and I guess that's one of the differences in the two, landscapes between the two conferences. Yeah. The Big Ten has always had a congenial, collegiate, hey, we're all in this together type mindset.
True.
The SEC has not.
Yeah.
They don't care. It's just bitter. The rivalries are bitter. They get after each other each and every week.
I can only recall in the 1987 Cotton Bowl, I was part of that team. Earl Bruce said some things to us about Jackie Sherrill, who was the coach then at Texas A&M, that didn't reach the media, but he pretty much called him a criminal, pretty much. I mean, cheaters, whatever. I mean, he saw whether it was true or not, we believed it. So that was the sales pitch to us.
Right.
And he believed it. Trust me, he believed it. But he didn't go to the media to do that. This is different. But I think to me, what this really boils down to is there's a couple things. Number one is A&M beat them last year.
Right.
And Saban does remember that and doesn't, I'm sure he has, there's no love lost there between those two. But the reality is the recruiting landscape has changed immensely. And example being this past week, I played in the Ohio State former players outing. Most of the coaches were there. Coach Day talked to everybody afterwards at lunch, and one of the comments he made was, he goes, look, guys, the way that we're recruiting now is a lot different than the way you guys were recruited. It's just different, and we have to adapt to that. We have to tap into these collectives because that's kind of the way it's going, and we got to go that direction, or we're going to lose ground recruiting. So it was an interesting standpoint that all these coaches have to embrace where they're at, where they're going quickly. And Saban obviously doesn't want to change because he's had a huge advantage in recruiting.
Right,
and that advantage is being taken away now because of these collectives, and it certainly appears that Texas A&M is kind of in the forefront of how they figured out how to do this. And, they're within the rules as far as we know.
As far as we know.
So, that's why you saw Jumbo bounce back today like, no. In a very, let's say, direct way in the media today.
Welcome back to the Wisemen Say podcast, the Columbus Soccer Podcast. Tyler Fisher alongside Gerald Lucas. Gerald, Damani Camara, what a guy he is.
I mean, I'm speechless because he's spoken like a true champion,
as a captain should be.
Yeah.
Now we move on to we talked about I just want to touch on this really quick. The NPSL playoffs. They made it for the first time in franchise history, but I just want to run down exactly what's going to happen really quick. So conference champions are determined by regular season points per game, okay, as it should be. 6 teams qualify. So out of the Midwest region, we have 2 teams from the Great Lakes Conference, 2 teams from the North Conference, 2 teams from the Rust Belt Conference. We obviously know Columbus is one of the teams from the Great Lakes. It looks to be the Muskegon Risers, but of course anything can happen. The 3 conference champions will be seeded 1 through 3 by points per game. The remaining 3 teams will be seeded 4 through 6 by points per game. Top 2 seeds receive a bye into the Midwest region semifinals. Seeds 3 through 6 will be split geographically, with the 2 westernmost teams playing each other and the 2 easternmost teams playing against each other. The number 3 seed will host a quarterfinal match against the team seeded 4 through 6 that is closest to them, based on the aforementioned geographical split noted above. The remaining 2 teams will play each other with the higher seed hosting. So, I know people were talking about it last year. If Columbus had won a game, they would play some team from Wisconsin or whatnot. So whoever Muskegon is, looks, again, anything can happen, of course. But Columbus could sneak in and get either that 1 or 2 seed, get a bye, which would be good, into the region semifinals, and then they'll play the most eastern team in either one of the other 2 conferences. That'll be their opponent. You have to come out to a Columbus game, man. Golly. The last one is Saturday. This Saturday.
Ooh.
Yes. Think about it. Anyway, moving on to the Columbus Eagles. Last week. Was it last week? I think it was last week. Last week we had Cheryl Shope on the show. And they ended up.
They won.
and
on Father's Day.
Yeah, on Father's Day. Unfortunately, they fell to the Cleveland Ambassadors again, 3-0 this time at home. But based on what Cheryl said last week, what can we expect from this team moving forward, heading into next season? What do you think?
Heading into next season, if they actually get more consistent players, because the same group, when they're winning the games, are not always there for the next game. So if they could get a group of consistent players to be there and build that core to keep coming out season after season, they have what it takes, to go far, to even bring one home, for the city. watching them after the Crew 2 game up there on Father's Day at Historical Crew Stadium, they were playing lights out. And it was kind of hard to pay attention, to the post game for, Crew 2, but just watching, the Eagles out there practicing and warming up, and just watching the determination and the competitiveness, while they're warming up, it was like, okay. And, like I said, if they get consistency with players showing up, they have what it takes to bring, a championship home to the city.
I think also what a lot of people don't realize is that we talked about it last week. The bouncing around from like stadium to stadium when they were at the Wellington School to when they were at Otterbein. They played a couple games. I think they played a couple games over here at Ohio Dominican, and now they're at Capital University. I like that it's more local now, right? Because it's just in Bexley. And Bexley's like the epicenter of Columbus.
Almost. I mean, that's what Coach Mark said. He was like, he wanted it to be more city-centric.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So before the game, you could walk down Main Street to Grader's Ice Cream or, and get you, some ice cream and head over to the soccer game or, eat some of the fine food that's there in Bexley. And then go catch the game and then go get you ice cream afterwards. It's all within walking distance of the field. So I think if you see more and more people coming out from Bexley and the more consistency and, you see it in all sports. The more you win, the more people are going to come out and see what's going on. So if they were to actually fill up the whole stadium over there at Capitol, I think that will open more eyes for people in the city. Like, what's going on here? If it's a 5-6 o'clock game, what's going on here with the lights on and, you're seeing more foot traffic than normal.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I think that's what will bring, some more success to the Columbus Eagles. Is the more that they get consistency and they win more, I think it brings out the city.
I also think that I'm trying to pull up the schedule here. I also think that it also drives the younger people to strive to play on this team. This is the only team, women's team actually, in Columbus. I think actually in Ohio, to be honest with you. Dayton, but in Columbus, we'll go Columbus because I forgot about Dayton Dutch Lions and FC Dayton, but
and Cleveland.
And Cleveland, yeah. But in Columbus, right, we see a lot of youth, like youth teams have unified boys and girls, but with this WPSL team that is, they're building still and whatnot, I think it also strives for the youth and the young ladies in our youth to strive for that position that they want to be on this team and represent the city of Columbus.
I think also, and that you hit it right there. They're out here setting example and being role models for the younger women in this world, in society. You take it back years ago, the women's U.S. national team.
Mm-hmm.
You had Fowdy, you had Mia Hamm. You know what I'm saying? Look what they did for women's soccer in the United States.
Is it the 1999 World Cup?
Hey,
I can't remember. I think it was the 99 World Cup.
Out there.
I know exactly where you're getting at.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
so
definitely.
And they won it all. To put on at a stage like that, at a time in society where it was like you really didn't speak too much about women's sports. I mean, it was there, but you didn't speak about it. Now you got these women out here that are setting that example. Like, look, you can do this. If you grind and you work hard, you can get to that level. And I just think that the more exposure that the Columbus Eagles gets here, whether it's more broadcasting, whether it's more, fundraisers or, events, with the team that can bring out the city. Because I tell you what, I left at halftime of the Eagles game.
Yeah.
And there were still people walking in, pulling into the parking lot and going in for the game. So, they have a following, but the more that they can get exposed, I mean, that's even with, FC Columbus. The more exposure that these two teams get, that's just going to put Columbus on the map.
Yeah, definitely. And,
a lot of people don't realize that this is semi-pro. So these players, they have lives. So that's why, if you get that consistency, the sky's the limit.
I was just about to say that exact same thing. The Eagles take on the Cleveland Ambassadors yet again. The 3rd, that's a Sunday?
Yeah.
This Sunday at 4 o'clock at Bernlohr Stadium, which is the home site of Capital University, as you can see right there on your screen. 4 o'clock, tickets are available. Come out and support the Eagles.
And who knows? They might even have a fireworks, after the game.
Probably. I
it's
I would love it.
It's 4th of July weekend.
I live not far from Capital University. I would love to see fireworks twice in one day, to be honest with you.
Ooh.
But that game is an early game, so I doubt there's fireworks during the day. However, goals galore can cause fireworks. There we go. See?
Exactly.
Coming up, Columbus Crew news. A great road point. And you were there. No, you watched Columbus Crew 2.
Yes, I did.
Columbus Crew news coming up right after this.
Colorado, their weakness the last couple years has been that defense. Haven't been quite as physical getting them through the playoffs. It looks like they've changed that. Darren Helm's bringing some heat a little bit. Manson's in there. The Johnsons he mentioned. Has that defense improved enough to really slow down this Tampa Bay squad? It sure looks like it.
Yeah, I think they did some incredible things at the trade deadline. It's easy to look back in hindsight and see the guys that you added. When you add these guys, you want them to fit in the room. The chemistry has got to be right.
Sure.
If you have a team that gets along well and they're doing things well, you don't want to bring in a guy who has a lot of talent but doesn't fit in with everybody else, because that kind of throws it off the rails a little bit. They did a great job. Josh Manson, you mentioned, he's come in, big guy, physical guy. That's what they wanted on their blue line. He's also putting the puck to and in the net.
Yep.
So that's a bonus. Anytime a guy like that does that, that's an absolute bonus. I think one of the things that is it's kind of under the radar here, Jack Johnson, a guy that formerly played with the Blue Jackets. He left the Blue Jackets. He went to Pittsburgh. They gave him a big contract for a lot of money. The Pittsburgh fans they're still beside themselves over that. They thought that he got overpaid and that he was washed up at that time. Early in the playoffs, Samuel Girard goes out with an injury for the Colorado Avalanche. Jack Johnson has had to step in. Yep. He's not flashy. He's not going to wow you with his offensive prowess or anything like that. Big body guy. He's just going to be on you. Right? Body on body, slow you down, get in the way, block shots. That's what Jack Johnson does, and he does it really well. So those guys are doing that, and then when you go beyond that, my goodness, Cale Makar and Devon Tays are arguably the best defensive pair in the National Hockey League right now.
That's what I keep hearing.
And that's not just offensively, because Makar is huge offensively, but these guys are playing great defense. They added really well to their back end with the Manson trade. They got deeper there. They got Arturi Lehkonen to play up front. They made their forwards deeper. You mentioned Darren Helm. He was a guy that they brought in because he had won with the Detroit Red Wings, and they wanted experience. He has fit in really well. They did an excellent job of assessing their roster, bringing in guys to fill holes, but bringing in the right guys to fill holes. That's the tough part to do. John Tortorella with the Philadelphia Flyers. Match made in heaven, is what I say. Oh, come on. Philadelphia. Go back to the old days of the Broad Street Bullies when they used to beat everybody up. John Tortorella is, if there is not a more perfect fit in the National Hockey League, I don't know what it is. This is where he belongs. And I laugh, too, because, John Tortorella was with the Blue Jackets for 6 years.
Yep.
And I have a very good relationship with him, and I loved interviewing him. And I remember we were in Philly one time, and I said to him, at the end of my interviews, I always try to give him kind of a jab to make fun of him or something lighthearted. Yeah. And I said, boy, you'll love being on that bench tonight here. The Philly people really love you, huh? And he goes, oh, don't even get me going. They hate me here. They hate me. And that goes back to when he was coaching the Tampa Bay Lightning, and he coached them to a Stanley Cup championship. Ken Hitchcock at the time was in Philadelphia. They were battling Philly in the playoffs, and he told Hitchcock, shut your yap. And the next game, and he told me the story, the next time they came back to Philly, the bus backs down the hill and parks down by the loading dock.
Right.
And the people, the parking lot for the regular fans is now up above you, and there's a railing there. They were all standing there booing him, ready to throw stuff at him when he got off the bus at the next game after he said that about Hitchcock. So the Philadelphia fans have never loved John Tortorella. They've hated him. They're going to love him. They love him today. They'll love him more in September. I think he's a perfect fit there.
Welcome back to the Wisemen Say podcast, a Columbus soccer podcast. We talked about before the break, Columbus Crew. Hard-earned point in the, I can't pronounce the name, mountains of Salt Lake City. The second team this season to get a point, or 3, out of Salt Lake, who was the second place in the Western Conference. What'd you think of the game?
It was a hard-fought defensive game.
By far.
It just, from what I was watching, because I was actually flipping, I had both games going right now, during that, and, for the Real Salt Lake, I was getting tattooed. So I had the game going on, and from seeing what I was, it just was ugly. As far as like, to me, it was. I mean, you had your scoring chances.
Shout out Pedro Santos.
Yeah, oh my God, but it just wasn't the high press like I'm used to seeing. The high octane. Maybe Caleb could have had a different lineup, but
Hard to do when you have like 9 guys out.
Yeah, I still to this day I don't think Miguel is a starter. But that's everybody has opinions.
I'm with you on that opinion.
I'm
with you on that.
It just wasn't. I really think the altitude actually has something to do with it too.
Yeah, it does get kind of
takes your breath away.
Yeah, literally.
But I mean, other than that, going into halftime 0-0, I think they played well. Room was that was the room that we need to see every game. Between that and the Atlanta game, that's the room we need to see.
Yeah. I think for me, it was probably one of the better showings against a top team, this season. You look at Real Salt Lake and you look at Pablo Mastroeni and his side, and then you think of the goals that they've scored. You think of Zach McMath in net. With Justin Glad on defense, he almost got the goal and off of a corner. Off of it was either a corner or a set piece, but just missed the net. But Real Salt Lake is a team that last year upset Seattle Sounders in the knockout round without a shot on goal, and ended up winning in penalty kicks. Upset KC in the last minute, made it to the Western Conference Final to lose to Portland. They're not done, right? You take that, now you look at Columbus. Columbus with, X amount of guys out. Of course, they can only do so much. But for what it's worth, they're unbeaten in 3 straight, with the win against Atlanta before the break, a draw against Charlotte, and now a draw against Salt Lake. things are trending upwards in the right direction. It's the matter of, can Caleb Porter get these guys healthy, and can they excel onto these next few games? There's one important game coming up in a couple weeks, but we need to get through, the Union who just got a win in the last minute against NYC over the weekend. We need to get a win against Chicago, who's mediocre. They're okay, but and then we get to that game later on, which we'll talk about in a few
We got the
weeks from
Trillium Cup too on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. This Wednesday. Can we get past Toronto? Right? We got lucky against Toronto in the first round.
4-1.
2-1.
Was it 2-1?
2-1. Yep. So now it's a matter of you touched on it before we went on air. 2 games in a week. It happens, but can these guys perform the way that they have? Maybe at the end of 21, maybe even before then in 2020, when we get these guys healthy and when we get Cucho Hernandez in, who's the new Crew signee.
We'll talk about him in a minute.
When we get these guys healthy, can they perform?
We saw it last year. We were almost the same, Matter of fact, we're right at the same mark last year going into the, with the international window opening, going into the break right around the 10th, 12th, position.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of people hurt. Bunch of people getting called up, for, the national teams. Now we're starting to get people back. We didn't have Santos or our captain against Charlotte, but still put on one heck of a, performance at home.
Yes.
Go on the road. We get our captain back. And we get Santos back. It sucked because Hurtado, went on to the, the injured reserve. But I think coming up against Toronto, we might get Lucas back.
Hopefully.
If we could get Lucas back at least and Artur, I think that gives us a little more momentum, especially coming off of a draw against the second-place team in the West, with Real Salt Lake, a draw against Charlotte, and, and a win over Atlanta before the break. We saw that happen. We got that momentum, went through the summer. Everything was rising and rising and rising. What happened? People got called up and people got hurt.
Yes.
And we fell off.
Yep. Oh, big time.
Yeah. So I think we're in that trend right now. And then with the new signing that we got, here's where I think, you're able to have Miguel Berry play as a starter, is having Cucho now. Because I think one of the things that I think is the downfall on Miguel Berry right now is there's too much pressure on him as the only striker.
You're forgetting Hurtado.
Well, but they're not starting both of them at the same time.
Touche.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So he's the only striker out there. Now you bring in Cucho. Now you got him at the 10. A true striker that can actually go out wide. If anybody, sees my article about Cucho and all that, you can check it out. I believe it's on Vavel.com.
Yep, it will be tonight.
He can play out wide. He prefers, being in that striker position, but he could go out there on that wing. Has no problem. And he has such of ability with his feet being able to dribble through the traffic. And then also not only that, but like on set pieces and, crosses, has that way to get through that defense to put it in the back of the net. As we saw, there was that video where it was a cross that came in and he scissored it right in.
I think that was yeah.
Against Arsenal.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, I mean.
I didn't want to say that because I thought it was wrong. But
no, it was against Arsenal, and the keeper had no chance. But the way he was able to move through all those holes and those gaps in that defensive back line right there in the box, he had no chance. So you bring him into the game. You get a healthy Lucas. You have Miguel there. You're taking stress off of him. You're taking that pressure off him so he could hopefully get back to the Miguel Berry that he was, a couple years ago. And then now you also have, Mensa, you have, Santos, Igbekembe, you got all and Aiden Morris. Can't speak enough about him. That kid is a monster in that midfield.
Yeah. I think also I was highly impressed with Sean Zawatsky.
Yes.
Sean played absolutely lights out.
He made his MLS debut Saturday.
Yep.
Going up against Real Salt Lake, and what a feeling was to go up against Justin Muir.
Oh, the former Crew guy?
Yes.
I mean, it's always I think with stuff like that, when you go up against your old teammates, it's always, your friends, but for 90 minutes.
Or enemies.
Yeah. I saw pictures of him and Mensa after the game. They were, hugging it out, talking and whatnot.
It's just like King Harry when,
Yeah, against Charlotte.
Yeah.
I will say my only gripe with this team is the lack of shooting.
So, I'm going to touch on that real quick.
You must know something I don't.
So,
I missed a game in the press box for 1 week, and you have insight. No, I'm joking.
I wish I did, but somebody made a good point, and it was on the radio on 97.1 The Fan with Common Man and T-Bone. I think, it was with them. It's, Caleb Porter's always saying, if I had this, if everybody was healthy. And they made the comment of, I find it hard to believe that there's nobody else good enough to score on the team. So, do we really think that one person coming in is going to unlock the team?
No.
My answer, in my opinion, I believe so. Because you're bringing youth. You're bringing speed. And we get him in here. He starts training with everybody. They've already talked about how Mensa and Lucas wants him to come over for dinner right away. As soon as he touched down, hey, you're coming out to dinner with us. Getting him into the fold with the leadership council. Getting him well acquainted. We saw from the press conference with Tim. When they sat down with Cucho and his agent, he already knew about every player on the team. So he's already done the scouting, and he loves the city. He loves this project of him coming in here because he knows that he can be the face of the Crew.
And Bez even mentioned it, that he came here to be a league-leading scorer for the league, even the team. He's 23, signed on a young DP deal.
Club record.
Yeah, club record. That beats Zelarayan's record, actually, because Zelarayan got here for like $8 million. It spent, that was like 10 and a half or something like that on Cucho Hernandez. But I think with his ability to shoot and score, as he did in for Watford, and people knock that. I've seen this all on Twitter, especially from Watford fans. People are saying that, he's not going to excel because MLS is such a lower league or whatnot, blah, blah, blah.
That we're the retirement league?
Yeah, I'll have more on that soon. But people are forgetting Watford kind of sucks. Watford really didn't help him.
Well, if Watford fans, don't remember, they haven't been in the Premier League that long.
Yeah.
And he was part of the reason why they got up to the Premier League.
Exactly.
And also the team down there in La Liga MX.
Yeah.
That got promoted up to the league. He had 15 goals and I think 30-some games for the team down there in La Liga.
Yeah.
So,
Now, if we like teams that score, get on Crew 2.
Oh, yes.
A heartbreaking, what was it? 0-0. They fall 4-2 in a penalty kick shootout. The first one
of the season,
year.
yeah.
Yes. I believe you watched the game.
Yes, I watched every second of it because I was looking for that revenge, against the Rhinos.
I think everybody was looking for that.
But I'm not going to say it's a heartbreaker. It was a well-fought battle for 90 minutes, 90-plus minutes. It got a little chippy there in the second half, but, that's normal. Yes, we didn't have Jason. We didn't have Mo. We didn't have Zawoski. We didn't have
our producer just sneezed. Bless you, Adam. Basket.
I think there was one more player we didn't have. So we actually had, players making their starting debuts.
You also didn't have Courtois either.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we were missing too. And I just think that the lineup the formation that we used against the Rhinos, it should have been changed. It should have been, the 3-3-4 that they were running. I just don't think that was good enough to go, to beat the Rhinos. And, we walked out of there with a point. Still kept, we're still on top of the East in first place. But it just, for the first 15, 20 minutes of each half, it was teams going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, each getting their chances. And Brady Scott.
I kept up with the Crew 2 Twitter feed. It looks like Brady Scott had himself a day.
He really did. He channeled his inner Eloy Room from Atlanta and making just spectacular save after save. And, there was a couple, I'm like, and he was able to clear them. So, I mean, we were missing some players because they got called up, which they was well-deserving getting called up.
Which, if I may interject, now that Mohamed Farsi and Jason Russell-Rowe played in the Crew's match against Salt Lake, they're no longer eligible for a short-term loan agreement to the first team, which I think is highly beneficial now I think we're heading near the end of MLS Next Pro. I could be wrong though. I can't remember when the season ends.
September?
It's getting close.
Yeah.
So I think it's beneficial for these two guys who are a crucial element in the Crew 2 lineup to continue to perform at their best with this team, and also to maintain the top spot.
Yeah.
It really meshes the team together when they're there, and you can see how they don't perform well when they're not there.
And I asked Marco that too when, the first time that we lost to, Rochester.
Yep.
What do you do? How's it feeling because of not having Jason there? And everybody knows where Jason is every time. So now that they're not going anywhere unless they actually sign an actual contract.
Yeah.
And even by not playing on Friday, Jason, Russell Rowe still leads for the Golden Boot. So, I mean, he doesn't have to play a game and he's still leading. But that just goes to show how, how talented that the kid is. But you could tell it was evident, the Rhinos were actually picking on Marco and Noah and trying to double them every time they touched the ball. And there was honestly nobody else that, that was fast enough to get around, those traps that Rochester was, setting right there, getting towards the box and, all the interceptions. So I think we play them in the playoffs. I think it's a different story because we will have all our weapons.
Got a quick question for you before we touch on this our last segment. Does this, does the two losses against Rochester kind of make a statement that a team has the Crew's number?
It doesn't, I really don't think we only have one loss, honestly, in my eyes. If you look at it, at the end of full time, we didn't lose.
Correct. Yeah, that's
So
also true.
we have one loss against, Rochester that they hold over us, the 4-0. But I don't necessarily think they have Columbus's number. I just think you have to actually sit back and look at their formation and see what formation, you can have, to counter that.
Yeah.
Take a playbook from Caleb Porter. Use one of his. Whether it's the 4-2-3-1?
Yes.
Run that. Or run a 3-5-2. You know what I'm saying? Do
Kind of
something.
switch it up a little bit.
Exactly. So, and like we touched on with the first team, when you're playing certain teams, you have to switch it up.
Yeah.
Don't be too predictable. So, like your mid to lower teams, play your normal. But when you start getting in those teams that are up there in the tops that are fighting for playoff contention or that are leading the league, find something that's going to give them some problems. So I don't think Rochester has our number. I really don't. It was a hard-fought game, 90-plus minutes. It went 5 rounds in the penalty kicks.
Final was like 4-2.
Yeah, so 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah.
And Brady Scott left it all out there. And he just, it's hard to defend against penalty kicks.
That's fair.
You're 8 yards away?
6.
6 yards away from
No, I'm sorry, not even 6. 12. Golly, I suck in math. 12. 12
Okay,
yards away.
so 12 yards away, so you're point blank.
Yep.
So you would literally have that stop the ball.
Yep. Last segment. This is something I love. Now we can start talking some college soccer as the fall season approaches. Ohio Dominican University. For those who don't know, I am social media manager for Ohio Dominican men's soccer. I'm athletics, but now I'm sticking with men's soccer. We just released our fall schedule on Friday. As you take a look on your screen, regular season starting in August against 2 opponents that we played last year, McKendree from Illinois and the former number 4 Indy. But here's where things get tricky. You ready for this? We play Cedarville last. Now, for those who don't know, Cedarville we played 4 times last year. Out of every other opponent, we played Cedarville the most. 1 home, 1 away, 1 in the conference final, and 1 in the first round of the NCAA tournament. But the games in black are home. The games in gray are away. Gerald, are you ready for this? The September 29th through August 8th is what's going to do me the most. It's a 4-game road stretch right there from Tiffin to Findlay, then going down to Kentucky. And then after Kentucky, you have to wake up the next day, catch a bus to Nashville, Tennessee to take on Trevecca Nazarene. That's going to suck. But we also have a preseason game, August 12th, against, I'm not going to say it, but Ohio State University. I'm not going to say whatever the word that they patent is, whatever. I don't care. Against Ohio State University, the second time in a row. It's dubbed the Battle for Columbus, actually. And we actually did really well last year against them. Even though it's preseason, we held them scoreless for 86 minutes. And then they scored twice in the last 4 minutes. But here's the thing. I think they didn't know how good we were.
For a Division II team?
For a Division II team.
Hey, what can you say? I'm actually interested in seeing the battle of the Bucks. Go for it all.
It's actually it's a lot of fun. It's at Jesse Owens Memorial Stadium.
Of course.
Time to be in. No, not of. It could be held at Panther Stadium. But I get it. Yeah. So August 12th, Time is to be determined. As of all the games are to be determined still. But I said it before. I said it on Twitter. Follow me at Fisher Tyler 2_. What's your Twitter? I forget.
At
614
_, or Bucknut something.
Yeah, follow Gerald too. Shameless plug. But I said on Twitter, I'll say it now. If you want to watch quality soccer, collegiate soccer, D2, whatever, throw it out the window. If you don't watch quality soccer, come out to one of the games marked in black at Panther Stadium to watch Ohio Dominican University. They are absolutely killing it. We getting new recruits, returning seniors for 5th year, guys who are freshmen who are becoming sophomores that are still on the team. Come out to one of these like 8, 12 games, however many there are, and watch these guys play their hearts out. I am pleading to you. Gerald, I'm pleading to you too. And Adam, if you want to come watch the soccer game, whatever, come too. It doesn't matter. But these guys leave it all out in the field, and you will not be disappointed.
I'm actually looking forward to, I actually had a friend that played football for Ohio Dominican.
Nice.
So, I watched some of his highlights and all that, and I could see, being Division II, you guys, you just work harder.
Yeah.
There's no prima donnas.
No, not at all.
So, I'm actually looking forward to this. I do really want to see that Ohio State versus ODU. So,
hey, man, it's a real treat. But that's our show.
Well, real quick, so we do got we got the Columbus Crew this Wednesday playing in the Trillium Cup up here in Toronto.
Yeah, we do. I forgot about that.
Saturday at Historical Crew Stadium, you have Crew 2 taking on the Union 2.
Oh, that's Saturday?
Yes.
Oh, man.
So
I can never make Crew 2 games anymore.
The Capybaras are taking on the Union 2.
Okay.
And Sunday, the first team is taking on the Union.
Yep.
Down at lower.com. I do believe that might be a 7:30 game.
Your guess is as good as mine.
I just had it pulled up.
So we'll just roll with 7. 7:30.
7:30.
All right. 7:30.
With fireworks to follow after the game.
So what he's saying is get your 4th of July celebration all while taking in the Columbus Crew game. I'm looking at the wrong camera. Get that. You get double the fun for one price, right?
And if you're a season ticket holder for the Columbus Crew's first team, you do get a discount for the Crew 2. If you haven't been out to a game, come see them. It's fun. Get to see the Capybaras out there. I know you're not gonna call them that, but it's everybody's buying into it.
I'm not saying I'm not going to call him that. I still need to write that article though.
Everybody's buying into it, even the captain Marco. So just come on out, Historical Crew Stadium. Enjoy the Crew 2, and then go down to lower.com field. It's 4th of July. Red, White, and Boom, I believe, is on Friday. Fireworks all week. Come on.
See, there you go. Well, that's it. Tyler Fisher for Gerald Lucas. This is the Wisemen Say, a Columbus Soccer podcast. And as always, Gerald, what do the Wisemen say?
Only fools rush in.
Thank you guys for tuning in.